Today, we're zooming in on a paper by S C Sayles called Without Excuse, Contending Sartre. Now, you might be thinking, Sartre? Existentialism? Am I about to be condemned to be free for the next 30 minutes? Don't worry. I promise we'll keep things lively, accessible, and sprinkled with those crucial aha moments. Let's start with the core question of Sayles' book. At its heart, Without Excuse asks, is human freedom really just a lonely act of self-invention in the void, a kind of heroic leap with no safety net? Or is our freedom actually a form of participation in something bigger, something, dare I say, authored by a higher order? Sayles puts this to the test by staging a real intellectual showdown. Sartre, the famous existentialist, versus the grand traditions of Reformed theology. Why does this matter for you? Well, the idea that existence precedes essence, that is, that you, me, everyone defines ourselves, creates ourselves with no blueprint, no core script, has been totally soaked up by modern culture. From therapy to identity politics to social media, this is the air we breathe. But as Sayles points out, if we follow this logic, are we liberated or actually more confused, more anxious, because we have to make it all up on our own? It's a big question, right? Okay, so how does Sayles approach this? Sayles starts by giving Sartre's original arguments their due. He reconstructs Sartre's philosophy in detail, tracing where he got his ideas. Husserl, Heidegger, all those big names, laying out how Sartre splits up reality into being in itself, which is rocks and tables and stuff, and being for itself, which is human consciousness, this restless, reflective thing that can't be pinned down. Sartre says basically that consciousness is freedom, an absence, a space where you get to choose what matters. The catch? There's no higher meaning, no blueprint, just you, out in the void, inventing it all. Sayles respects this diagnosis, but then he, flips it on its head. Instead of saying those moments of lack show we're on our own, he asks, wait, what if every gap in our being, every sense of absence or longing, hints that we're actually dependent on something or someone that's bigger than us? Here's one of his critical moves. He brings in Reformed theology, especially the ideas of folks like Calvin and Van Til. Sayles argues that real freedom isn't about being cut loose from any anchor. No, it's about being anchored in the right place. If we sever ourselves from the source, he claims, we're not free but rather adrift. Think about it like this. If you're floating in space, untethered, yeah, you can move anywhere, but you'd also get lost. Fast. What if, Sayles asks, this freedom we crave only makes sense if there's a author, what he calls the logos, whose order, rules, even limitations actually make freedom possible? Sayles even introduces his own original concepts. There's this thing called the information field, or IDF. Imagine all of reality as like a vast field of coded meaning, authored intentionally. And then there's the Second Shamay, which he describes as the metaphysical realm where human consciousness participates in this wider, ordered cosmic story. Instead of consciousness being a lonely inventor, Sayles sees it as an inscription, a glyph, or imprint in this divine field. So, when you sense absence or make choices or even struggle with identity, maybe in this view you're actually reflecting the echoes of a bigger pre-existing harmony. The endless search, the restlessness, as a clue that we actually yearn for connection to something deeper. Bringing this back to the world outside philosophy, the paper traces how Sartre's idea, this make-yourself autonomy, shaped everything. Identity politics, therapy, even the curated versions of ourselves we post online are, according to Sayles, downstream from Sartre's freedom. But he warns that this freedom, without a telos, an ultimate meaning, often leads to exhaustion. You become the author, the performer, the editor, all at once. No wonder so many of us feel burnout, even as we have more choice than ever. So what does all this mean for you? Sayles' arguments, whether you agree or not, invite you to reflect. Is your deepest freedom in the power to invent yourself from scratch, or is it discovered in aligning with a story, an order, a meaning that precedes you?